Okay, so it is 6:15, 6:17, and despite one of us being late, that was me, we're gonna call the meeting to order of the Economic Development Committee for the town of Monmouth, January 19. First order of business is to review our minutes. We have a copy of the minutes?
On the back.
Oh, to review our minutes from our last meeting, October 20. And let's just take a look here and see what's going on. Yes.
I make a motion to approve them.
Okay, we have a first from Doug and a second from Garrett. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Our next item on the agenda is the 2026 TIF budget planning.
Yes, and this is kind of misnamed as I was thinking about it. This is really 2026, 2027. So fiscal year 27 is what we're talking about
Okay,
for TIF
okay.
funds. So I apologize for the confusion.
2026. So this is what we will be asking the voters to approve in June. Okay.
Right.
For a
Part of
July.
your- As part of your municipal budget.
Right, and the fiscal year starts in July.
So what I did not provide you with a draft budget because I just wanted us to kind of go over expenditure, what we proposed last year and what has been spent to date. And we can also talk about kind of where we are with the balance of funds and how much we anticipate coming into the TIF bank account, for lack of a better word.
Two of
this year. There'll be three of them. There'll be the affordable housing one as well.
Yes.
So that said, and I'll just kind of explain this worksheet. This is my preferred method of keeping track of TIF funds. And hoping that we'll all be able to kind of shift to this going forward. But basically, this is our Main Street Omnibus TIF district. On the far left column is the projects that have been approved for this district. So those are the projects that we have received approval for by the voters and the state to spend TIF revenue on.
Yeah.
The next column, the total cost estimate, is our limit, for lack of a better word, up to what we can spend in a particular category with our TIF revenues. And we updated those during our last amendment because we're seeing that some of our categories were getting a little close in terms of, or we could see in the next few years that we might reach a certain category limit.
Okay.
And then the next column, which is something that's important for us to track, obviously, is the total remaining funds in a particular category. So you can see, for example, in number 2, professional administrative costs, our total cost estimate is $215. We have $152,000 left, the remainder of the TIF district to spend in that particular category. So with that kind of record keeping, I then provided what we have so far. I was telling Doug and Garrett before the meeting started, I'm working with the bookkeeper to clarify different expenditures and helping her understand which categories these expenditures will go into. This is really a training for for everyone who deals with expenditures and kind of tagging expenses to understand, what TIF revenues can be used for and making sure we have the appropriate categories. But we can see that the column labeled 2025, this is as far as we've gotten in terms of funds that were spent out of the TIF account, which total $102,548. And we can see that we really made an effort. There's $12,500 for administrative professional costs associated with the development program. That would include a portion of the assessor's salary, the bookkeeper's salary, Justin's salary overseeing the TIF district. So just basically anyone who touches the TIF, a little portion of their salary being attributed to administrative and professional costs associated with the TIF district.
Okay,
We can see advertising marketing costs to promote Monmouth as a business location. I did not find out exactly what that item is, but again, a portion of our website, small portion of our website should be on there.
yep.
For example,
And if we're gonna do some development in terms of places, some additional development work on the
Yep.
website.
yep,
Yeah,
this downtown area projects and streetscape improvements, the sidewalk bond payment comes out of that. So that's $41,000 a year that automatically is being paid for with TIF revenues.
okay,
This category is a little unfortunate because it kind of takes two things. I mean, streetscapes are the sidewalk, but then the facade improvements, which of course we provide the grants, matching grants to businesses to do that type of work. So we have that in there. Economic development events, again, including the beach party, Apple Fest, and some of those types of projects are included in there. And then number 8, economic development plan and general programs. That's everything to do with economic development, including my wages and what your KB cog membership should be coming out of there, other
Right.
membership groups. I'm not clear that that is out of here yet, but what is included is the Dennis's portion of Dennis's salary as well, doing economic development type activities.
through
Is that the
Constable.
revolving loan program? The kind of, remind,
KB cog,
Yeah, they administer.
yes, they
Well,
administer.
They've agreed to administer.
but is that the full cost of that?
No,
Okay.
so KB cog is a membership organization essentially, and they
Yeah.
provide technical support to
Okay.
the town in a variety of ways related to.
I was just curious because it was like $7,000. Has anyone applied for any of those
No,
loans?
no, no, no,
That's what I'm worried
it's not
about.
exclusively,
Okay, okay.
the non-existent or
Okay.
And I'm not
Uh,
positive,
revolving program. Good
not
point.
positive that that is the correct, that was an estimate from last year, but again, I didn't see that broken out in anything yet. So I sent another note to Jessica to kind of ask where that line item was.
Okay.
And then finally, down to 13, costs associated with new or existing recreational trails. 55,000 for 2020. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm in the wrong column. I just scared myself. There was $2,783 in 2025. And then we'll get to what's going on right now in the next couple of columns. But so that's what we're finalizing for the 2025 TIF expenditures at this point. The next column shows what this committee proposed for a TIF budget last year.
Okay,
And then the final column with numbers in it is what has been spent from our budget to date as of January 2026. What has been spent of TIF revenue for this fiscal year?
current
So-
fiscal year.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we can see the
So the
portion.
correction then for, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the correction then for what we might propose is this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th column that currently says 2026 proposed. And that should really say proposed for the It should say the 26-27 budget
Yeah,
proposal.
that's what it should say.
Yeah, in that column.
627 budget. That's what it should say. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
And then
We-
then 2026, 27 to date. No, I'm sorry.
No, that's
No, I'm sorry.
25, 26 today.
Yeah, so, sorry,
25,
Ken.
26.
so,
today.
so the second to last column should be 25, 26 budget. Is that what you said?
Yep.
And I just wrote something completely different. Okay, and then 25, 26 to date. Right. There we go. Thank you. So we can see again that they've apportioned part of those wages and salaries attributed to people who are working on the TIF district. She does not have any of my wages. Although because I took some time off at the end of last year because I was sick, it wasn't actually a whole lot.
Are you okay now?
I'm better. Yes, yes. I spent quite a while in the hospital in November, so I did not do much in November and December, which is why we did not have much going on, which was fortunate for everyone because the end of the year was, yes, thank you. So I need to double check with her about that. I'd say it's a few $1,000s more probably that is in that number 8 that
Which
is
still?
there right now.
Line number 8.
Yes. 2026 to date. 25, 26 to date.
Gotcha. All right, so that one needs to be corrected.
Yeah.
I'm also noticing, just FYI, and I haven't. I mean, this is a gut check. So I'm shooting from the hip here, but on line number 7, economic development events. We had estimated 300,000 and we're saying a total recorded remaining of 280, which means we've expended about 19 and change. From what, so far.
So far.
And that seems low to me because when did we start counting?
I was gonna say, the other thing that we're still working on is how far back we've gone.
Okay.
I mean, this data that I have is from 2022 forward.
Okay,
So again, this is all a work in progress.
okay,
This is how it needs to be set up. And we are recording based on the information we have right now.
gotcha. Because the
Yes.
reason I think that's low is because the beach party's been in existence for 10 years.
Right.
And every year I think we give them like
At least 3,000.
$3,000, yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
So that's 30 grand and that's not there.
Yeah,
So,
yep,
so I would put a big question mark next to that.
yep.
Number 13. I think there's maybe some double counting. So the 55,000 adds up to the 2026 proposal, so which is fiscal proposal. I think the Cumston Trail's done. I think that 22 needs to come out. And I think it's in year to date.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So I left the notes for the 25, 26 budget in the far right column, so we would know what we had budgeted for.
Mhm.
But yes, you're correct. So the 55,000 was related to the Cumston Trail proposal of 22,000 plus 3,000 for contingency plus 30,000 for matching funds. So that 55,000 is the budget. What's come out of that to date is
Okay,
the
okay.
25,000. I'm sorry, it's not clear. What's come out of that today is the 25,000 and then another $2,783, which I'm again, don't exactly know what that is, but have
Was-
questions.
It's a trail study.
Yeah, it was the first part of it.
I think so,
Yeah, the
Okay.
first tranche of the trail study, and then there's another tranche.
Yeah.
Which would bring the total up
7 or 8.
to total
Yeah,
to 7 or 8.
I think so.
Yeah.
And about the trail behind Cumston, is that
That's the
25,000.
25,000.
25? Okay.
And that is in there.
That is in there.
So one additional amount to include in it would be in the 2025 column, row 13, is an additional payment to our consultant for the trail committee, which we suspect is like $5,000 or $6,000-ish, somewhere in that neighborhood, bringing the total up to 8 or 9.
Are you saying for proposed?
No, what's already expended in the 2025. I think we've already paid him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's in the 2025.
Which that's what
That should go.
should be paid for with TIF revenue.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so there's it's about $5,000.
Yeah.
And do you know who the consultant was?
Outdoor Sports Institute, OSI.
OSI. Belongs in there.
Yeah.
And I think we're on the hook as we're sort of thinking about next year. The town is committed to another $7,000 or so to round out. We needed to be in for 15, didn't we? No, we needed to be in for 12.
Yeah.
And let's just do
Yeah,
the
yeah.
reverse math. It was 220 grant, 20,000 was matched.
And then half of that.
Half of that, because the RSU is covering the other
Yeah,
half.
yeah.
So maybe it's more like 10, and we've already spent 8.
Yep.
So for 2026, just
6,
for
7, yeah.
6, 7. For planning purposes, the town is committed for about, let's say conservatively, $3,000 more.
Yeah.
It's probably an overestimate, but
And what is that for?
that's the remaining matching funds required by our grant. That we needed to do a 10% match, and the RSU is covering half of that. So it's a 5% match for the town.
Okay, so I appreciate everyone's patience with this format.
Sure.
Do people have additional questions before we start talking about some of the items that we've been presented with to be included in this budget or other items that we want to propose?
I guess when we met last, we had the fire department here requesting money for the UTV.
Yep.
Only a portion of the funds could be used. It could be the full amount.
That was the conversation I was having with Chief Roy. Again, that on this particular line item, so let's look at it. Where is it?
Cost of public safety.
Cost of public safety, I didn't put, of course, I didn't write the whole thing out, but generally, the expectation would not be that this particular item is only going to be used for the TIF district. And so it would make sense to recommend that a percentage of usage be kind of
Right.
estimated in terms of what would be acceptable for TIF fund
Right.
uses. And of course, I believe it was an $80,000 proposal then, which may not be the same now because I think
Because
that
it's
had
later.
it had a time expiration to that.
Sure.
So,
And it
But
was
the
kind of an estimate anyway.
right, but the big question is, and I mean, if the committee wanted to go in that direction, the other thought is kind of, I mean, I guess I would say in a TIF district the TIF district that we're talking about doesn't have a whole lot of kind of undeveloped space in it. for example, you know, the items that we TIF have development on them typically. And so there's weighing that as well versus, you know, a percentage of acreage of the town, for example, or something like that. So,
Yeah.
but that's, again, it's just kind of having this reasonable justification behind why we're choosing to fund a certain portion of it.
So I could also play devil's advocate if I were standing in for Chief Roy. Part of their proposal said, hey, if you're developing trails, this is actually a trail useful tool if we need to extract somebody from a remote place.
Yeah.
Because they're on a trail and broke a hip or something. So, so we could also, just because there's limited development in the TIF district, I don't think we should feel ourselves limited by that. And I would say also that if we move this forward, that, you know, the interest of the taxpayers is to, without breaking any regulations, to maximize or to lessen the tax impact. To manage the tax impact, that sounds even better, doesn't it? To its fullest extent. I don't know. Maybe there's a conversation there to have with the ECDC people to say, here's what we're thinking about. It's a multi-purpose tool. It's expensive. And would it make you uncomfortable if we said X?
We could do that.
Not, that wouldn't be your first thing.
That probably would not be my first recommendation.
Okay, what would you think?
I think it would be worth, again, the information that you just provided is a sound justification. And I think Mike talked about that when he came.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's a very valid concern. So again, just finding kind of a percentage that we feel that this type of equipment might be utilized in the district. I mean, I don't know what the plans are for the Trails Committee, for example. Like,
Sure.
I don't know what the master plan is for trails, but that's something we should certainly keep in mind.
I guess the way I would be comfortable with it is if the fire department came to us and said, okay, this is how much it costs when we rent it from Winthrop. And this is, you know, how many times we've done that.
It's not as clear cut. I mean, I did hear them say, here's an example of when we had to wait for another town to arrive with their equipment. And we get it free, but there's a delay in getting it. And
Well, right, but I'm saying you gotta put pen to paper to actually,
yeah,
for that
yeah,
us come to say that it's justifiable, I would say.
sure. I mean,
Not
we
in
could,
terms of the spending, but in terms of like being able to use these
these tools
resources, yeah.
immediately rather than having to wait.
Well, no, I'm saying economic development, tip money. I would need to see a dollar amount from the fire department as opposed to the speculation.
So their
Before
dollar
you
amount
could-
is 80 grand
No,
for
I'm
fully
saying
equipped thing.
for the problems that they've solved.
Okay,
That's what I'm saying. So before you could say, well, it's gotta be this because we've done this 5 times and this is what it costs. Then we could say, okay, was it in the TIF district? Then we can kind of justify it.
so
That's what I'm
you
saying.
want it based on past performance? We could.
The way you do it though, right? I don't know.
Well, I mean, you could also think of it as sort of an insurance policy as opposed to, you know, something that's based on past performance.
No, I get it. If there's more trails, certainly, but this is only a mile trail.
Well, but we've already developed how many miles down there on Prescott Hill,
Yeah.
The cross-country ski
Yeah, I've been out
and
there too. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's only 2 trails and like, we've been
But no
in
tip
existence
money.
for 2 years. What's that?
But we didn't use any tip money.
Did we? No, but it doesn't matter because there's a specific provision in the TIF language that
Okay.
says trails that are open to the public anywhere in town eligible for TIF expenditures. So someone got out of control on a doing downhill skiing on a cross-country skiing, skis, and they tear a ligament up on Prescott Hill. Who's gonna go get them? That's a scenario.
Yeah.
The scenario they brought up was wildfires, and the one scenario where they had to wait was a wildfire that got caused by a train,
Yeah.
and it, was a number of acres. And they're saying that's gonna get worse because we've got a lot of fuel on the floor of the woods. So the wildfire danger is gonna be substantial. So are you asking this committee for a percentage?
I mean,
Our best guess?
yeah, I mean, I think it would, again, something that was reasonably justifiable.
Okay.
For example, I would say I think 50% is kind of a
So,
stretch, for
Yeah.
example.
the other thing to think about here.
What's the cost of an extraction if somebody fell and they ski? So, you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. I don't know that answer.
Well, we pay a stipend of like $17 an hour, $18 an hour for each firefighter to respond. It's somewhere in that neighborhood.
Right.
And then, there's,
5 guys who have to walk out there and do it.
right? Or someone's got to go home and get their ATV to go do it, right? And then there's, the pain and suffering of the person who has to wait. And there's a lot of variability too. I mean, this is what they're going to say. I'm just playing cheap Roy for a minute. There's variability, like, an extraction. It's a pretty easy thing to do, pretty straightforward. Fighting wildfire in windy conditions is not. And, there's a good chance of some very severe property damage. And there's a good chance that maybe it just burns the understory and then they figure out a way to put it out.
Historically, there's been hot boxes. Train fires along the railroad tracks in the past for a number, I don't know how many times there's been, there was a woods fire up behind where Larry Bougie lives before he moved. And there's other places I can think of where we've had woods fires. That,
Sure. I mean, it's probably the number of fires, the chief can probably give you better data, but, sort of the scale we're talking about is, 2 or 3 a year, maybe.
Yeah.
Couple, 3 a year.
Yeah.
It's not 20, but it's not 0. And, in the end, we can also understand the decision that we're making here is really not, do we approve of this? It's, are we recommending to the select board to put it on the ballot for the voters to approve? Because it's really the voters that are going to make the decision about cost benefit.
Right.
And how responsive do they want their fire department to be? Do they want their fire department to wait half an hour, 45 minutes for some other town to bring their UTV to us, or do we want to have one that's 10 or 15 minutes away? And then is that worth it? Right? That's their cost benefit to
Part of it is,
our decision is it worthy enough to put on the ballot?
right, but we don't even know the dollar amount. So
Hard to
that's where I'm
quantify.
like,
Hard to quantify. Welcome to politics. And, you know, the other thing to understand, Garrett, is like the overhead will make your brain explode. There's huge overhead costs for the fire department.
Right.
I
So,
mean, fire trucks and, you know, garages and places to store things and, you know, meetings that happen to keep people trained and up to speed. Huge amount of overhead, and it's almost all overhead. There's very little sort of incremental expense. But that really, you know, how much you've invested in overhead is really important if you want the fire department at your place in 10 minutes with equipment that works and with people that know what they're doing and are motivated to put the fire out. So, you know, it's hard to do apples to apples economic analysis when it's kind of vague.
yeah, I think as a voter, I would want to know what the costs are, the time, certainly.
Sure.
In terms of like the delay and potential delay. So then there's at least some substance to it, as
Sure.
opposed to just saying, well, it's just more equipment, so it's gonna be better. So that's where I'm kind of.
I hear you though. And by the same token, there are probably about, I would, shooting from the hip here, I'm guessing that there are probably about 1,800 homes in Monmouth. Ish, residential homes, that ballpark. How many did we lose last year? I know of one. We lost one in South Monmouth. What was the other? Were there others? So one out of, you know, if your chances are one out of 1,800.
So
I just don't know what percent we can even come to a straight face and say. What?
Well, it's not 100%.
Right. So, but is it 10, is it 20?
and from my perspective, a better case scenario would be the fire department is still paying off a truck that they bought used, you know, and they have a payment of X on it
Yeah.
each year.
Yeah, okay.
It would be easier for us to take a percentage of that fire truck and, you know, pay that payment, you know, say it's whatever, they've been paying it for 10 years and they have 3 years left. It would be easier for us to use TIF revenues for something like that. That is a more universal kind of, this will be used in the district, which is built up for business activity and has the CMP substation in it. And we definitely need this type of.
5% of the TIF district is this, so then
Right.
we can do 25%.
Right. So, you know, that would be easier, you know, if we could attribute this money to other things even now. So then maybe the fire department's budget goes down by $30,000 and that, you know,
Right.
you could shift it around that way.
As opposed to finding a new thing, which might or might not be, you know, the tool that they need. And the voters, of course, get to decide that.
But when I met with his deputy, and
Yep.
this was
Ed.
more than a year ago.
Yep.
I mean, it was a while ago. I don't recall them having any of those types of payments. Because that would be like some equipment that they were paying off, for example. If I'm wrong,
You need to check with Justin on our capital plan. Because there are some, if memory serves, I think there might be one item
Yeah.
we're still paying on.
because if you can save money
Or what?
elsewhere in the
For the
budget
fire
and then
department.
attribute X% to this,
Yeah.
you know, that makes it easier
It
to.
makes me easier to put a percentage.
Yeah.
Many years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And we may be paying the North Monmouth truck still.
Yeah. So
But
I would check in with Justin
Yeah.
to see exactly what the reality is of that. He's got a spreadsheet that lists out all of our outstanding debt and what it is attributed to, and I'm pretty sure there is a truck on that schedule somewhere.
So again, from my
Maybe two
perspective,
trucks.
yeah, that would be easier to
I'm sure.
justify TIF revenues.
Right.
And then we could likely put an appropriate percentage on this
Yeah.
UTV that is commensurate with, how it would be used in the district and in the trails. That, again, overall, the fire department is saving, or not saving, has a lower budget that is, paid for by the taxpayers. So that would make it easier. But to come up with a percentage that would be impactful for the town for this piece of equipment alone, I think is something that I see you struggling with right now. So maybe if there's a different way to go about it, that would be more helpful.
Mm.
And,
Okay.
and as Kent said, do you guys have a sense of the appetite of voters for this type of equipment?
I think generally folks want to make sure that their emergency responders are well equipped. They do not have an appetite for anything that's going to impact any new initiatives that are going to impact the tax assessment. So I don't think they're, I would say, I mean, we've told all the department heads, we know that your collective bargaining agreements call for 5% increases. We'd like to see a 2% increase proposed in part of our budgeting process this year. Because the revaluation has really gotten people's attention to how much local government is costing. Again, we're not going to control 60%, almost 75% of the budget is beyond our control because of the county and the RSU expenditures. That's not us. But at least we can go to the voters and say, okay, we're targeting a 2% increase when inflation is 3% and our collective bargaining is 5%. And it's realistic to have a collective bargaining at 5% because those years when inflation was at 8 or 9 or 10%, it was at 5%. So we're still sort of playing catch up with some of that. So it's not, it basically means they've got to go into their, equipment and supply budgets and find some savings.
Well, this is helpful for me, so I can do a little more research and work. I think the last few years, Monmouth is doing a good job. I would say best practice is not to have a huge surplus in your TIF account, which we have had. I mean, I think it was almost $700,000 or $800,000 at one point.
Yep.
That's hard. I mean, you really want this to kind of provide a steady stream every year. I mean, not necessarily 100% in and out, but kind of that.
Yep.
And the past few years, we've brought in, I don't know the calculation for this year with the reval and all that stuff, but about $125,000 a year.
Yep.
To the TIF fund for this particular district. So
I don't have a hard figure on that. I did hear Justin say that CMP's contribution to the TIF district will be going up slightly
that's something.
with the revaluation.
That's something. So I think this committee's on the right track to kind of be keeping the budget kind of a in and out and again, working on that surplus that we've had for several years. I think it's probably around 600,000 now, but
Right.
when we get to the end of the district, we don't want to have $300,000 or $400,000 sitting in that account. So,
that we don't know how to spend.
right,
Yeah.
that we can't spend reasonably and
Right.
according to statute. So, okay, great. I will provide something for you next month.
Excellent. So, it's a good, segue to item number 4, which is the streetlights for the downtown improvement project. And before we stray too far from, our budget issues, I think it's important to note that we do have a, cash balance of in the TIF fund of about $700,000 or $800,000-ish. That's the general range. We'll get more next month, but the things are starting to move on the downtown improvement project. So DOT is getting a little bit closer to having their part of that project crystallized. We put the project on hold because DOT needed to make sure they understood the drainage underneath the road. Like where the culverts go. Are we treating the stream at the bottom of the hill right in terms of wastewater? And if they're gonna dig stuff up, now's the time to do it because the road, the surface is already a patchwork from all the water stuff that was done. And so we're hearing that DOT is starting to move on it. The town engineer is starting to come up with some design plans. We still don't have a hard figure on exactly what to expect for a budget from there, but I suspect that a substantial amount of that cash balance that sits in the TIF fund would be dedicated to this. There's the movement of the sidewalk from one side of Main Street to allow pedestrian traffic without telephone poles in the way. It's cheaper to move the sidewalk than it is to move the telephone poles. And so that's part of the plan. Part of the plan does, as I understand it, tentatively involves an entrance for Cumston Hall that shifts away a little bit downhill from where it currently resides. What that might do is, sorry, go ahead.
So it's kind of not totally clear.
Okay. What that might do is free up some additional parking in the Cumston Hall parking lot because traffic would not be cutting across that parking lot. It would come in from the downhill edge. That's an idea that's been floated. When you move the sidewalk in, you're going to be losing parking spaces on the street. Either the street moves to the right or it moves to the left, but one line of parking spaces would go away. That didn't seem to be too much of an issue for folks on the select board, given that it's rare that we have a full house on the street. Also, the potential of additional parking in Cumston Hall. And it is clearly a safety problem, the way it's configured now with telephone poles in the middle of the sidewalks. Sidewalks can't be plowed. People are not walking on the sidewalks in the wintertime. They're walking out in the street next to traffic. I actually had a firsthand experience at a Cumston Hall event with Mom. And oncoming traffic, we're out there in the middle of 132. It's dark, can't walk on the sidewalk. It's slushy, slippery. And fortunately, we were seen and everything was fine, but it's exactly the scenario we're trying to avoid. So one of the questions that our engineer has posed to us is the issue of lighting, because we have the street lights that have been there since 1980.
Since Edison invented the lights.
Since Edison's time. We've got the street lights that sit on the telephone poles. And there are many municipalities that when they go through this process, you get one bite at the apple because you don't want to dig something up and then put a Band-Aid on it later. This is a 50-year type of infrastructure investment. If we're gonna redo streetlights, and do something a little more appealing and inviting and walkable than the 1960 Edison streetlights, now would be the time. And so a conversation was started at our last select board meeting about what that might look like. What is the scope of street lighting along Main Street? What design of streetlights might we be interested in? The incremental cost to upgrading streetlights is in the neighborhood of $100 to $150,000 if we did the whole thing. Right, if we did the whole stretch.
It's the whole stretch.
The whole stretch from Maple Street all the way to Academy Road.
Wow.
Right, if we did only a portion of that, then obviously it would be less.
What would happen to all the telephone?
Well, those streetlights would come down, the telephone poles will still be there.
Poles would be there with these new lights.
So we would be substituting the new, and if you can imagine what these lights look like, go to downtown Gardner, go to downtown Richmond, go to downtown Winthrop. And there's historic looking antique type streetlights.
There's no poles.
There's, the poles do not go away, but the streetlights on the poles would go away.
So you're not gonna have a Wiscasset or a Winthrop or
Like
Gardner.
where the poles go away, I don't think the poles will still be there. That is the reason we're moving the sidewalk. Because it's super expensive to make poles go away. Wiring needs to go underground, very expensive.
So the wiring is not going underground.
So the electrical wiring that is currently on the poles is going to remain. That is kind of the original part. The question that the engineer had, because that's why we're moving the sidewalk. It's less expensive to just move the sidewalk because we've got plenty of space, unused parking spaces on the street. And the poles will remain.
And then we're putting in new poles for lighting.
So then there would be, we'll show you an example. Here's an example of some of the streetlights. It's sort of an historic looking streetlight.
Oh, okay. Yep. Ready?
It's an historic looking type. I don't know, Reagan, did you get a chance to see?
I looked at it before.
Yeah. So, it's kind of a classic old timey streetlight that is more inviting than just a Edison streetlight that hangs from a telephone pole.
Where did this come from? This downtown area projects
It is.
How did,
It could be completely
Parking.
covered.
or streetscape and facade?
Actually, it could be some combination of the two.
Okay.
Because it is parking related.
Yeah.
And it would also be, I mean, the largest balance that we have is the downtown area projects.
Yep.
Where we're currently showing $683,000 as the balance.
Yes, although I think it would be nice to kind of spread it out. If we could utilize it in another category that doesn't seem to be getting used very much, like Garrett said, the
Sure,
parking facilities type
sure.
situation.
Yep. Your thoughts, Doug?
well, I don't know how, like They obviously must have had, wiring, telephone poles,
Used to.
and so did Winthrop. And they've eliminated them, uh, with underground stuff. And I don't remember, I know they put in new sidewalks, I think they're a brick maybe. Uh, But, yeah, well, to me, it would see, I can't envision having all the wires there and these little lights. Uh, That's all.
Okay.
I, yes. It wasn't my, it's not my thinking that the two would go together very
That
well.
we take the wires, we take the overhead wires away, take the telephone poles out completely and put it all underground.
Yeah,
We could ask Justin to ask the engineer for a,
yeah.
cost feasibility. So it wouldn't even be an estimate. It would just be like, is that 5 million or 10 million or 50,000? Kind of question. It's the engineering on something like that is pretty substantial.
I guess it must be.
So you'd have two poles though, two sets of poles to navigate?
You would, no, they would both be outside of, the sidewalk would be away from each of those poles. The poles would be beside the sidewalk.
Incredible wiring. That area and the telephone
Oh, telephone, cable,
is,
fiber connections. It's this huge conduit, very complicated. Three-phase power, I'm pretty sure goes through there,
yeah,
which, yeah. Big bucks.
downtown too, there's wires all over the place.
So the solution for that, I mean, we can find out what the feasibility of that is. But I would suggest that that's probably not going to be within our reach. At least with the preliminary conversations we've had with DOT. Because the whole purpose of, I mean, we've kind of started off our conversation with DOT in order to be frugal about this scope of the project. We can move the sidewalk without disturbing the electrical infrastructure. So the wiring, I'm pretty sure that's starting to get baked into the plan. And so then the question would be, to what extent would there be interest in using these streetlights along Main Street? It's been discussed that we could just do the streetlights between Maple Street and Pleasant Street. It's been discussed that we could do the streetlights from Maple Street to Compton Hall. And it's been discussed that we could do the streetlights from Maple Street all the way to the corner of Academy, Academy Road. The full extent.
Sidewalks are still on each side of the road.
Is there a side? There's not a
Well,
sidewalk.
that,
on the
I guess you're,
western side of the road.
yeah, yeah, so it'll just be on the right side.
But it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. It would make sense to me because Compton Hall is there.
Yeah, yeah.
That you probably want to put the foot traffic on that side of the road.
There's a little part of the Blossom House though, right? Sidewalk there.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, for that little stretch. There's a town parking area down there.
Yeah.
And then from, say, I think it might be from Pleasant Street to Maple Street, it's on both sides. I don't know, does it go any farther down there?
Well, then it continues south.
How far down?
On the
On the western side?
opposite side of the road.
Yeah, how far down does it go? Do you recall?
All the way to Paradise Road, not Drive or whatever it is.
So the sidewalk continues, but I don't think that's we haven't discussed whether that's within the scope of this plan.
Can't imagine it would be.
No, I think we've basically been focused on Maple Street to the most traffic part of that Maple Street to Academy. And, you know, it's a couple of reasons. Number one, that's where our businesses are. Number two, that's where kids walk to school. A good portion of them would walk to school if we could get the sidewalks plowed. So, do we have any opinions on the extent of
But they are plowed. Of course, the sidewalks on Academy Road are plowed,
Sure.
as well as Main Street, but they're not sanded. So, some of the weather we've had makes it so that you couldn't.
Right.
The sidewalk with because they're ice.
I think it makes sense. I think these funds are for, so. I mean, I would,
what scope, in your opinion? Small, medium, or large?
I'd say you just do it now, just get it all over with, large.
Your thoughts?
So Academy to Maple,
Academy to Maple.
yeah, gonna be existing.
I question if we're not going to do anything with the putting stuff underground, I question whether we should even bother with the lights. We should just use newer lights or nicer looking lights or whatever. Street lights, make them keep the street lights and not these things. I mean, I
Not do them
don't
at
know.
all.
What?
Save the money
Yeah.
for later.
I don't know how much light these provide. I can't remember. I don't think I've ever been in my trip or walked the street there and those new lights and yeah. Yeah. Save the money, use it for something else.
Okay.
My just.
My opinion is that we've got two businesses on the north end of that stretch of road that rely very heavily on foot traffic. And the more inviting we make that for foot traffic, the easier it is going to be for those businesses to grow and for us to attract other businesses potentially. So,
I can't see them growing. I mean, the bakery and the
Yeah.
shop.
and quick shop.
Yeah, they're both kind of, well, bakery's fine, but getting to the quick shop, from the sidewalk and maneuver across the big stretch of road there is, for foot traffic,
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
And so it really does need to be redesigned in a more sensible way. And where does that sidewalk terminate?
it doesn't really, I mean,
On Main Street, when it comes up the hill?
before it gets to Davis Agency. I think it's just before Davis Agency's driveway. Somewhere in there, there's a crosswalk. A painted crosswalk.
So that people can get over to the Academy Road.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I find myself with Garrett on this one. We don't know what the next 50 years is going to bring. And if we only get one chance to make this investment. An extra $100,000 to $150,000 to get lights that are gonna last for 50 years. This is a one shot. I think it makes sense. And we are all about getting people outside and being a walkable community. This is a good example of how we can encourage that.
How soon do you think that it'll be, everything will be transmitted wirelessly?
Including humans, like Star Trek?
No, I mean electricity and.
Oh, electricity and all that other stuff. Oh, it's gonna be a while. First, we'll have flying cars.
Yeah. Okay. I will see that, but.
You might. 10 years on flying cars.
Right.
Okay, next up is other business. Who's got other business? I have one other business thing, but who's got other business? We're over time.
You have Susan Collins.
Yes,
Business.
Susan Collins business. We are one step closer to finalizing the North Monmouth water system build out. We have one step left. We need President Trump to sign the authorization for funding that's been sent to his desk. Susan Collins sent us a letter indicating that as chair of the Budget Committee, she was able to instruct the EPA to set aside $3.5 million of funding, make it available for the purpose of closing the final budget gap in the North Monmouth water system that we've all been patiently waiting for. I think from its first inception, it might have been 2020. When it first came up with the, right, the ARPA funds, was that ARPA funds in 2020, something like that?
The,
Yeah. Yes.
somebody might ask me
6
about
years.
what route the water line would follow.
Sure.
And would it cross the road at Blaisdell Hill,
Would it cross the road? At
cross
Blaisdell?
202 at Blaisdell Hill?
Yes, it's a loop. So
Goes across Blaisdell Hill.
we know the general street path. We don't know specifically where it's, gonna fall within each street. Because they're working on that right now. Where's the ledge? Where's the best place? Where's the sewer line? Where's the ledge? Where's the other stuff? They're working out the foot by foot, inch by inch plan. But the general path is that it would start at North Main Street and 202. Go down North Main Street. There would be a loop that would go down North Main Street all the way to Wilson Pond Road, cross the stream, go up the hill a little bit, and take a left-hand turn and go up Blaisdell Hill Road, go all the way over the hill, come back down to 202 and connect in. Water systems like loops, they don't like dead ends, stagnant water and dead
So
ends.
Highland
bad news.
Terrace,
So in addition to that loop, there'll be a loop that would go to Highland Terrace.
what about New Street, Fire Station?
And there would be a loop that would go up New Street, past the fire station into that intersection, and then turn left and go down Wilson Pond and come back to the original loop. So there's basically 3 loops involved. And it would also involve an upgrade of Tex fire suppression system and put them onto this system so they are contributing to maintenance and overhead costs of maintaining the system.
There's a little road that goes, well, there used to be a store there,
Yeah.
and there's a little road that goes in there a ways with some houses on it.
Yeah. It's called, but it's got some funky name to it.
Yeah.
What's the name of that road?
And I should
It's
know
like-
because I'm a North Monmouth guy.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
That may be treated more like a residence with a couple of branches than anything else. See if I can find it. It's a funny name. Wholeway
I was
Lane.
looking at,
I've
yeah.
always lived there.
Holloway? Right, Holloway.
They lived on the big,
And there's like 4 residents on that one. So I think anything in that downtown cluster is being focused on because, as you recall, right now it's only served by wells that come off of, the aquifer. The aquifer is contaminated with all sorts of interesting chemicals from the 1960s when the mill did not have a sewer system. So,
and use the brook.
yeah. So don't go digging around in the sediment of Wilson Stream. Word to the wise. And secondly, if President Trump signs this appropriations bill, then we can ramp up process. Right now, the process hasn't stopped. They have actually started the engineering design to get the path of those pipes down to the foot. So that, they're figuring out, oh, I've got a sewer line over here under the road and I've got ledge over here under the road. Let's put the pipe here. Kind of stuff. And where are these branches going to go off to homes?
New Year's?
Wilson Street. used to take
We're on your
colors.
side.
Well, I mean, how many years left?
Oh, how many years left to construct it?
Will it be done? Summer?
Actually, I don't know. I mean, this is a pretty good, the construction project we have here is a
Yeah.
pretty good indicator of how quickly they can move once they get the okay.
Yeah,
And this has been 1.5 2 years.
interesting.
Gotta tell you, this was if we get to the finish line, this is a closure of a 50-year-old problem.
Yeah.
Right? Because the main water lines came into Monmouth, downtown Monmouth in the 70s. And North Monmouth got left off. And it was, there was a lot to be talked about that decade over why this part of town got service, but the closer part of town to the main street, to the water main that comes up to it too,
Yeah.
did not. And so it's about time. Okay, other business. We're over time. Oh my gosh. Hearing none. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I said, you didn't hear, that Wilson Stream used to change colors all the time.
Oh,
You know that.
I know that. And we used to have algae blooms in Annabescook as a result in June.
And that's who changed color too, probably.
Portions of it. Yes, we've come a long way.